Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
The Microsoft Surface presented by Microsoft hasn't made the review go a little faster because of all the Microsoft things that they do.
And Brandan Schultz.
Of course you can't remember. You were 3 years old the last time it happened.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 men, yeah, he's feeling it, he's vital. The Seahawks coming to take division titles.
Welcome to episode 169 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandan Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker to kick off the season, good buddy Adam Emmert.
To kick off this season, Brandon, I'm going to get in touch with my inner hypocrite right out of the gate here. We just complained and whined all offseason that there wasn't enough to talk about and how hard it was to do a show. Today, there's way too much to talk about.
There's way too much. We're not going to be able to fit it all.
There is a crap ton of Seahawks news that we got to get to. This is going to be a really fun show. I'm looking forward to it, even if I am just a bit overwhelmed.
Like you mentioned, a huge show to kick off the season. There was a big trade last week after the Raiders game. That's the one thing. We're barely even going to talk about the fact that the Seahawks, finished a perfect season, a perfect preseason with a 4-0 record, right, with that 17-13 win over the Raiders. I mean, that's about as much as we're going to talk about that one preseason game. We have a big trade last week with getting Sheldon Richardson. We have the 53-man roster that's been finalized. Who's staying, who's going. We'll look at that. We have a matchup with the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field coming up on Sunday. And we have a free pass of a free year of NFL Game Pass to give away to one of our members of the flock. So it's a big week.
It is a big week, and we also have a crap ton of emails and response from you guys that we need to get to and questions to answer. Bunch of new members of the flock. It's a really exciting week getting going here now that the season is upon us. So where'd you want to start with all that, Brandon? Because like you said, that was a lot to handle.
Let's start off with the big news from the past week. What did we say when we went into the second half of last week's show? We said John Schneider is not done, and we knew last week that something was going down on Friday. As soon as the word came out that Doug Baldwin had restructured his contract, he took all of his salary for 2017, and the Seahawks gave it to him as a bonus so they could spread it out over 4 years. It freed up about $5 million in cap space for this season. And as soon as that happened, because that's not a move that we see John Schneider and the Seahawks make. I can't think of the last time that happened. So when we saw that, we knew something was going down.
Absolutely. That was the canary in the coal mine, right? I believe right after I saw that alert pop up on my phone, I ended up on the phone with you while I was driving around Arkansas.
Something's happening.
I was like, it's happening. Yeah. My spidey senses were way up. You knew that something was going to happen there. But you said that sort of thing, restructuring a player's deal to make cap room like they did for Baldwin, is something that you don't see John Schneider do a lot of. Well, I think you're going to start seeing John Schneider do a lot more of that going forward in the future. This is one of the things that's going to happen to keep all of these guys under contract, going forward, and to bring in fresh talent and things like that, like Sheldon Richardson, which is a gigantic trade. I don't know that it can be oversold what this trade can be for the Seahawks. I'm super excited about it. The price was, it's emotionally steep, the price, but as far as football terms and what it means on a football cost level, I don't know if there is a warrant out for John Schneider's arrest in New York, but there ought to be, because this was straight thievery. He completely stole Sheldon Richardson.
Well, we heard leading up to that Jermaine Kearse, Alex Collins, Ataba Rubin, Jeremy Lane were some of those guys potentially being shopped. And we find out in this deal, Jermaine Kearse and a second-round pick from the Seahawks goes to New York for Sheldon Richardson and their 7th-round pick. You're not going to get the talent level of Sheldon Richardson with a 2018 second-round pick. You're just not.
You're not. And not only that, at his age.
At his age. Now, the downside is you only have 1 year left on a contract with Sheldon Richardson, and the Jets were expecting him to leave after this season. He's a guy that could command upwards of $15 million a year for the type of production that he gets out on the defensive line, especially in the first two to three seasons of his career. Last year was a little bit of a down year for him, but we can talk about a little bit how the Jets have used him differently since Todd Bowles became the coach, and it's kind of taken him out of his game where Rex Ryan had him in those early years.
Sheldon Richardson very much so after this year could command a huge salary, because I think he's going to have a monster year in this system, because Seattle will use him correctly, unlike Todd Bowles, who apparently wanted to light Sheldon Richardson's career on fire and put him out there. He was doing all sorts of crazy stuff, Brandan. Like, he was out there. He was actually in pass defense.
Yeah.
A near 300-pound lineman they were putting out there in pass defense at certain points of the season.
Yeah, he had about 16 plays in 2016 where they had him out in coverage. The first 2 years of his career, 2013, 2014, playing with the Jets, they put him at defensive tackle, played almost all his games those first two seasons. He played all the games. He didn't start in one of them. 11 and a half sacks in those 2 years, 42 tackles each year, a guy who's solid in run defense in the middle. And that dropped off in, 2015. He only played 10 games, started 10 games. Part of that was suspension. I guess the biggest thing that we saw from Sheldon Richardson and the biggest concerns among the two suspensions, one, he tested positive for pot. And then
no way.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no! Oh my stars!
Really surprising.
When you
hear about you hear Sheldon Richardson talk, and he sounds like the most chill dude ever. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Oh no. And I mean, what a criminal.
Yeah. And then he was suspended for a game after resisting arrest, driving 140 miles an hour with a 12-year-old in the car. That one's a little bit more concerning to me. And,
yes.
And that definitely warranted a suspension. It sounded like from what Pete Carroll said, he learned a lot from that. Allow a guy to make a mistake, come back from it. And that's what you hope in this case.
Absolutely. Yes. Bad decision, clearly. Driving around at 100 plus with the child in the back. That's dumb.
Yeah.
How old was he at that point?
He was young.
22?
I think that was 3 years ago? 3 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah. I would chalk that one up a little to that. I mean, we make a lot of dumb decisions when we're in our early 20s, especially if you're a newly minted millionaire in an athletic star of the NFL. Yeah, I can see how that all goes to your head. But as you get older, you mature and all that. And if there's any place in the world to go where you can be yourself and still find discipline and order and, get your best level of play, it's this locker room in Seattle.
And that was one of the takeaways that I had in hearing Sheldon Richardson's interview was, he started off a lot more guarded with the media just in the early stages of his interview, his first press conference with Seattle media. And you could almost sense just by the line of questioning him start to open up more, because he started off really super guarded with the way it was answering questions. And as the interview went on, he became more and more comfortable, started making jokes, and even talked about how, the guys in the Seahawks locker room were playing pranks on him the first day, and he was kind of laughing it off. So it was fun to see in that first press conference some of his personality start to come out already.
Well, yeah, this is the Seattle media, not the New York media.
Right. It's totally different.
It's a very different feel. So I can understand why he had his guard up a little bit. If you've been dealing with that throughout the beginning of your career, you'd probably do the same thing too. A lot of people talk about the idea of the whole locker room cancer thing with Sheldon Richardson. I think they've got it all a little backwards in their head. The locker room is the cancer, and maybe he's the chemo. So maybe he doesn't fit in with that locker room, and he's kind of a problem. The whole locker room in and of itself is the cancer. That whole organization just is the epitome of dysfunction.
Well, losing is the cancer, a big cancer in the locker room. And you haven't seen a more losing organization than the Jets the past couple of years. And when I went back and I tried to find examples of Sheldon Richardson being a cancer in the locker room, and what it all seems to stem from is he did a Snapchat a couple of years back where he referred to females using a word synonymous with a gardening tool. And Brandan Marshall criticized him for it. And then suddenly the media was making this all out to be, like a Sheldon Richardson versus Brandan Marshall type thing. And and then this offseason, after Marshall was signed with the Giants, Richardson made a comment like the locker room's a whole lot easier to get along with now after Marshall was gone.
Oh, well, that sounds like it's totally unworkable.
It sounds like just more of a media created feud between these two players. And I don't think that qualifies as locker room cancer.
Well, they may not have liked each other.
No.
But you don't have to like everybody on your team to work well with them. You don't like everybody at your job. I mean, I do. I don't. I work with Jared. so yeah, I don't like everybody at my job. But I don't see him being a personality distraction in any way. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Look, if you talk to a lot of the GMs and stuff around the league, they are so high on this guy's potential. The idea that he is a Aaron Donald type of force he's a top 5 type defender in a lot of GMs' minds. And you have an opportunity to bring him in for obviously a starting receiver in Jermaine Kearse, but not an ultra productive receiver in Jermaine Kearse. And then a second round pick that's going to be towards the bottom of the second round. It's almost a third rounder. It's an absolute. You can't even blink at that. Like, you pull the trigger on that every day. I don't know what Jedi mind trick that John Schneider pulled on Tannenbaum over there in New York, but it seemed to work. You have a lot of people thinking this is the type of thing that takes this defense from being, one of the top defenses in the league this upcoming year and catapults them back into 2013 kind of form where you're talking about them as an all-time defense. It's a huge trade. This is a massive upgrade. We watched the interior of the Seahawks defensive line get pushed around a little bit in the preseason. I think John Schneider and Pete Carroll noticed that, and that's why they let Ataba Rubin go, and you end up with Sheldon Richardson as a replacement. I like the Ataba Rubin a lot. Don't get me wrong. This is a massive upgrade.
Well, I think back to the offseason before the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. Everyone was saying, how do they still have cap room to be signing these guys? They signed DeMarcus Ware and Aqib Talib, and they had Peyton Manning as their quarterback. And that was the year that, it brings me back to that year. The same was said in New England a year before that, too, when they brought in Darrelle Revis at corner, right? These are the types of moves that Super Bowl contenders make right before the start of the season.
That's exactly right. John Schneider was a man with a mission over the last few days. I mean, he was active. Hawk Blogger had a hilarious tweet, said something like, all GMs, quote, what a busy day around the league, end quote.
Yeah.
John Schneider, quote, hold my beer. Watch this.
Well, the thing was, though, as great as John Schneider was, we got Belichicked in the trade department right before the deadline.
Yeah, I've yet to try to figure out how all that works out and who got the better of what there. There was a lot of sneaky stuff there, but Bill Belichick called John Schneider. Was like, hey, John, Bill Belichick. And he didn't hang up.
Right. He
didn't hang up. He took the call and he made a deal. He made a couple deals with Bill Belichick. It reminded me very much of the very first Batman with Michael Keaton, right?
Uh-huh.
And the Joker. And the Joker looks at Batman and says, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" That's what John Schneider just did. He danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. Let's see what happens. Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you. But he actually engaged in trades with Bill Belichick. I don't know, man.
Well,
I'm worried.
At first, when I heard that we traded a 7th rounder for a cornerback, I was thinking about how awkward that must have been, because you don't want to pick up the phone when John Schneider is calling for a defensive back. And you don't want to talk to Bill Belichick in any kind of trade talk. And so initially I thought, trading a 7th rounder for a guy, he was already on our team at one point, but they get Justin Coleman from the Patriots. And then I thought that was that. Okay, we got a defensive back from the Patriots. We only gave up a 7th round pick. This can't be anything but a good thing. But then 24 hours later, Cassius Marsh is gone.
That's right. What was the haul for Cassius Marsh? It was something like a 4th, and
we got our 7th round pick back that we traded for Justin Coleman. And initially that was all that I thought it was. And I was thinking, geez, a 7th round pick for Cassius Marsh, that stinks. And then come to find out that the Seahawks also got a 5th rounder from the Patriots. And that to me,
I thought it was a 4th.
No, it was a 5th. which is probably more like a 6th, but because
that's not a good deal.
No.
So basically what happened is Bill Belichick called up John Schneider. This is how far he was thinking ahead of time. He called up John Schneider and was like, hey, I'll trade you this corner for a 7th round pick. A corner he's probably going to cut anyways, right?
Right.
And John was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, we liked him when he was on our team the first time. We could use some more depth.
Right. And then he gets into talks about Cassius Marsh, and he's like, how about I give you the pick back that you used to have? And I'll also give you what? Like a 5th for this dude. Is that cool? Anyway, so basically all Belichick gave up was a late 5th round pick for Cassius Marsh when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Playing the chess game. 2 steps ahead.
Man.
But,
that's tough.
Let's get into some 53-man roster talk because now Cassius Marsh is gone. We did have a lot of competition on the defensive line. And David Bass and Marcus Smith end up getting those last 2 spots. Jefferson ends up being cut, goes to the Rams. That's a little bit hard to take. And then Garrison Smith, another guy who we talked about, ends up making the practice squad. And then you have your other 6 guys that we all know. But yeah, those last 2 spots go to Bass and Smith. Yeah,
that's a little surprising to me. I thought the way that they talked about Quentin Jefferson, all coming into this year and all that, I thought he'd be a guy that was definitely on the roster, but I guess not. So that's a bummer. The Rams do have a good eye for defensive line talent. So him going there, I guess, is maybe a validation of he must actually be good. But they're looking for anybody right now because they don't know when Aaron Donald's going to come back and play.
Yeah, I'm not sad about that. I'm not mad at Aaron Donald either because that's a ridiculous salary number that he's set to play out this year. And the Rams have done deals for players before with their the last 2 years. So I think they should. I think he's right to sit out to get paid.
He can do it, I guess. I mean, you're under contract.
Yeah, but if Rams have done it before for guys like Quinn, I think, and one of their other guys, that's why you don't set precedent. Like John Schneider refuses to set a precedent of paying guys with a couple years left on their deal.
All I got to say is good luck with that, Aaron Donald.
Sit out as long as it takes, Aaron. Do it.
He's not getting a new deal. I mean, look, what kind of pressure is the GM under? Are they expected to have a good year this year?
No.
What's your motivation to cave? Like, you're the new GM. You said they set precedents before. Well, that was under Snead.
Yeah, they still have Snead.
I thought they changed general manager and head coach.
Yeah, still less Snead.
Oh, well, never mind. Okay, so I guess it's still less Snead. But hey, if you're looking to kind of change the culture and everything, like, make a statement. This is the biggest guy in the locker room. If you beat him in a contract negotiation like this and a holdout, nobody else is going to dare threaten you.
Let's continue with the defense, looking at the linebackers. DJ Alexander, Terrence Garvin, Dewey McDonald, the last 3 linebackers that make the team, past KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, beat out Mike Morgan.
Like I said in the last pod, they've walked away from him before.
Cornerbacks, Nico Thorpe, Justin Coleman from the Patriots. The probably the more surprising cut, Pierre Desir, who goes to Indianapolis. Probably a good move with all the considerations of trade talks of Jeremy Lane. I think it's a good move to keep Lane over Desir in terms of experience.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people up in arms over the Desir thing. Like, to me, that was the guy I was like, well, him or Thorpe. Like, just take your pick.
But then Elliott went down in the Raiders game, and so you kind of thought maybe they'd keep both.
Nope. So Desir out because apparently Indianapolis is intent on collecting all the Pierres. They seem to like players with the first name Pierre. So that must be the thought process there, because there's no other explanation for what Indy's doing on any level.
No. Tedrick Thompson makes it. The Seahawks carry 5 safeties over on offense. At backup quarterback, Davis makes it over Boykin, and then Boykin got picked up on the waiver wire, so he goes to the practice squad.
So I'm glad Boykin ended up back on practice squad. That saves my Pick'em League name because it's Boykin based.
You can still use it. He's on the practice squad. You can still use it.
Yeah, so shout out to Aaron Wilson and his wife Katie. I am going with Boinkable Boykins for my Pick'em League name, and I really like it.
Yes, and you can.
That's something Aaron Wilson's wife came up with. I think she has a thing for Trayvon, and apparently I do too. So Boinkable Boykins.
With a name like Boinkable Boykin, you have to expect there's a thing there.
Yeah.
But join our Pick'em League, SeahawkersPodcast.com/Pick'em. And we're getting up close to 200. members of our open pick'em league to everyone, and giving away a Steve Largent autographed jersey to the winner at the end of the year.
You betcha. So yeah, the quarterback, that did surprise me, the decision they made there.
Boykin was
Austin
terrible
Davis,
against the Raiders, though.
Apparently, I didn't watch the fourth preseason game. I'm not going to lie.
It's okay.
Like, I just flat didn't watch it.
If you would have watched it, you would have seen that Boykin was terrible. And Davis, he looked poised, but he was also playing against, third, fourth string dudes. So
yeah. And, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, none of this matters.
If Russell goes down, now you still have a decision to make between Davis and Boykin. They're both on the roster.
Yeah. You still have that ability. So congratulations to John Schneider for pulling that off, I guess.
5 running backs. McKissick gets the 5th running back spot or the 6th receiver spot, however you want to slot him. He was wearing number 37 out there against the Raiders. Looked a little bit slower for, I don't know. I don't know if it's the number.
That's just weighing him down a little bit. Yeah. The extra ink on the jersey.
The 14, he looked like a fast dude.
Yeah. No, not 37, huh?
Not 37. I don't know. There's something weird about that. But fullback, as I mentioned, Trey Madden gets that spot. And we talked about before how if nobody picks up Marcel Reese, then he could come back to the team in week 2. Only 5 wide receivers, 6 if you count McKissick. Darboh, McAvoy get the final 2 spots. Your solid 3 are Baldwin, Lockett, and Richardson. Darboh, McAvoy rounded out. A little disappointing not seeing Kearse there. We're going to do a little tribute to him later on in the show. What do you think about that? Do you have any concerns now with kind of having Baldwin as your only guy that you feel like you can count on week in, week out? Lockett coming back from injury, Richardson, who you have to be concerned about injuries. And then Darboh, who we didn't even see in the preseason. And then you have McAvoy, where we did see some good things from him, but that's your 5th receiver.
Yeah, it's still a pretty strong group when you look at it in those terms. I mean, the reliability that we lose with Kearse as far as his availability is definitely a huge one. Now, at some point, if you're the Seahawks, you draft Richardson and Lockett both in the 2nd round. There comes a point when they need to step up and play. So at some point, you got to go in with those guys if they have shown the potential, and they have. But again, injuries. So it's a little scary, but there comes a day you got to roll the dice and say either we invested that draft capital so that these guys would really be contributors or not. And so they're going for it. Now, the one thing that kind of bothers me about that group a little bit, I guess some people will count Doug Baldwin as like a possession receiver, but a lot of the guys that you see there, especially at the top half of the depth chart there, are more speed guys. Yeah. We don't have a lot of like big bodied guys. I think maybe that's the whole point of Tanner McAvoy then.
I thought Casen Williams was going to be that guy, that big bodied guy that you could throw the ball up to. As soon as the Jermaine Kearse trade happened, I thought Casen Williams, a.k.a. Karen, would be my guy on this roster. And turns out he's not. Goes to the Browns.
Ends up on the Browns. Yeah.
What a terrible deal for Casen Williams.
Well, he still has a job in the NFL. And he was practice squad all year last year. He's going to get to play.
That's true. They'll probably be the number 1 for the Browns.
He has a shot at it. Yeah. Look, and there's a chance, too, that it doesn't work out there and he ends up right back with his team. The outrage over the Casen Williams cut was a little over the top. I get it. Like, he did shine for a few moments in the preseason. I thought he was a lock to make the team. There's a lot of other aspects that go into evaluating a player. I saw somebody had put up a thing on Reddit and they shared it, like Facebook or something. I started to read through it. It was super long, so I didn't read through the whole thing. But, started talking about some of the blocking and special teams and things like that, other things that Williams didn't do well, at least in his eyes.
Yeah.
So that could have been part of the evaluation. But
I think what you're getting at, though, is the thread that holds the fabric of this team together of always compete. That philosophy, Adam, it didn't come through in this pick, especially according to Richard Sherman and many fans, that you pull on that thread and now the whole team's going to come apart.
Oh, yeah, we're doomed. I'm sorry. I forgot. The players, I understand Richard Sherman didn't agree with it, and that's fine. I saw the headline, too. Richard Sherman rips, rah, rah, rah. He had a one-word response to a tweet. It wasn't like an expletive. He just said completely. It felt. What was the tweet from Hawkblog or something about the idea that cutting Casen Williams, always compete now falls on its face.
Right.
And
Sherman responds with completely. Yeah.
Oh gosh, what the locker room's divided, we're screwed for sure. Guess what? Guess what Richard Sherman's job is not?
To evaluate talent.
It's not GM. That is Pete Carroll's and John Schneider's job. And I have complete trust in them. I mean, the track record has, definitely over the course of time proven to be more correct ideas than not correct ideas.
Well, I want to go back to after the week 1 performance, and we were kind of hyped up about Casen Williams just after week 1, catching the passes from Boykin. And one of our listeners pointed out, said, there's not a whole lot to get excited about with Casen Williams because each one of those catches, he was relatively covered up. And it was Boykin throwing the ball up to Casen Williams and Casen Williams coming down with it, not creating a lot of separation. So when people say, what more could Casen Williams have done this preseason to show that he could have a job on the team? Well, create a little more separation between you and the corners, especially playing against, the second team corners. Against first teamers, he was relatively ineffective. And then you see what versatility on special teams gets you with a guy like J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick is not the better receiver between Casen Williams and him. And if Tyler Lockett's not ready to go, you have a spot on the team for that. So if you ask what more can be done, special teams counts for more. And we heard Pete Carroll talk about that.
Yeah, well, these are the same people that are whining about the Casen Williams release are the same people that killed Jermaine Kearse, right? They killed Jermaine Kearse because he never gets separation and he just goes up and gets contested balls.
Yeah.
That's his entire game, which appears to be a lot of what Casen Williams does. And yet he's the greatest thing ever. How can he not be on the roster? And everybody couldn't wait to kick Jermaine Kearse off the roster.
I don't know if they were the same people, but there's definitely a lot of the same
people. They're the same people. They are. You know who you are out there.
Well, moving to the offensive line, the Seahawks did keep 10 offensive linemen.
Good.
Yes. Keep all the offensive linemen. Joey Hunt, the one guy who's cut, ends up making the practice squad. And then they bring in Isaiah Battle from the Chiefs, who from all accounts from Chiefs fans is that he is terrible. And Jordan Roos, they keep on the roster as well. So lots of competition on the offensive line. How do you feel about those guys?
I feel good about it. I mean, it's as good as you can feel considering that they didn't take any of my advice to the offseason. So it is what it is. As far as keeping 10 offensive linemen, that's great. I know you definitely are not excited about Isaiah Battle at all. I haven't
seen him. It's just when I see accounts from other fan bases saying, yeah, good, you can have him. We're not worried.
Yeah. Well, okay, fine. Is that Chiefs offensive line good or not good?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of competition at the tackle spots.
Right. And so, yeah, if you're used to watching a top 10 offensive line in the league and a guy comes in and he plays at about, 17th best offensive line in the league level, you're going to be like, he stinks. You can have him. Well, that's great. For us,
that's an upgrade.
That dude's awesome.
Point taken. All right. Well, Deshaun Shedd rounding this out on the PUP. He could come back after 6 weeks. They have about a 5-week window to return. Deion Jordan, Malik McDowell on the NFI list. They also fall into that same status as the PUP guys. And then injured reserve, George Fant, DeAndre Elliott, Marcus Cromartie. And one thing that I like to remind myself, as the team cuts down to the 53-man roster, I always like to remind myself one important number, 46. The team can dress 46 players for a game each week, and the extra 7 guys are generally inconsequential, right? Unless there's an injury. Guys like Amaro Darboh, Tedrick Thompson, guys that were drafted that didn't show much in the preseason, but you want to still hold on to that draft capital, right? Develop that. Couple linemen probably going to be in that group, defensive backs, and any position where you have a little excess at depth. So, even a guy like Chris Carson, we might not see suit up unless there's an injury. So,
correct.
Good to keep that 46 number in mind.
I think it's stupid. You can't dress all 53, but whatever.
It is dumb.
It makes no sense, but whatever. That's fine. NFL's cheap and they don't want to, pay do they get more pay if they dress or something like that? That must be the difference.
No, you don't get you still get a game check for that week.
Then it's dumb. I don't get it.
It's a dumb rule. Maybe someone can convince us about there's some really good reason for it. Go Hawks at Seahawkerspodcast.com. Let us know. But consensus is it's a stupid rule.
I was more concerned with the listeners getting back to us at what food didn't go with beer.
Oh, we're going to talk about that in the Pick'em show.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Good deal.
So bonus show this week. Check it out.
All right.
Last week, we brought up the idea that Marcel Reese could come back after week 1. Fernando in Mexico City asks if the Seahawks would consider bringing back Ataba Rubin after the Packers game.
Possibly. Nobody's picked him up yet?
Nobody's picked him up. So it could be that, the issue with guaranteeing a veteran salary by picking him up before week 1. Right. I bet there's a lot of teams out there looking to potentially pick him up after week 1.
I would love to see Ataba Rubin come back, man. That would be, because I heard in Pete Carroll's press conference yesterday, or I guess Monday, that he talked about, I got the sense he felt still a little thin on the defensive line, just in sheer numbers.
I guess the idea is that you have talent with Desir Jones, Jaron Reed, and now you have another 3-down player like Sheldon Richardson, and just not a lot of, you want to have some rotation, but you clearly have a lot of those spots plugged up by guys. Ataba Rubin, if he's coming in, it's going to be as a role player. Tony McDaniel is still out there, got cut from the Saints, so there's a guy that you could potentially bring into after week 1. Yeah.
I'll take my annual Tony McDaniel.
Yeah.
Just come in and play well for just the short spurts. I'll take that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Well, Adam, what do you say we preview week 1? Week 1 matchup: Seahawks versus Packers at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it.
I was thinking to myself the other day about the last time that Seattle won in Lambeau. I figured it couldn't have been.
When was that, by the way?
I figured it couldn't have been that long ago. I know Holmgren was the coach, but he did coach for 10 years, so he did coach into this century.
Right.
You know when the last win was?
No, I can't think of it.
1999.
Holy crap.
1999. The Seahawks have not won at Lambeau this century. I have 3 kids who haven't been alive for a win at Lambeau. Your kid is older than any of mine, and she hasn't been alive for a win at Lambeau. Somewhere there's going to be a 21-year-old drinking a beer while watching this game. She's going to think to herself, you know what? I can't remember the last time the Seahawks won a game at Lambeau. And I would say, of course you can't remember. You were 3 years old the last time it happened.
That's hilarious. We were only out of high school by 2 years, Brandon.
Yeah.
We were both 20 years old.
We weren't old enough to drink beer the last time the Seahawks won at Lambeau.
Right. So when I said I don't feel good about it, that's why. I just have that. I have that feeling, right? Like, it's Lambeau, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's opening day. It's their season opener at home. That is a tough venue to play. So that was my initial reaction, right?
Right.
And then I remembered we're still the Seahawks and they're still the Packers. And then I started to feel a little bit better about it. There's some real matchups here that I think work in our favor. There's some things that we need to be concerned about, but there's definitely a game plan that you could employ to put the Packers on their backs.
Yeah, the one matchup that I know that we're going to hear about, though, in the media leading up to this game is the Bennett brothers matchup.
Right.
The media is going to focus on that.
Oh, I know they are, and that's fine. Well, maybe they won't after Mike Bennett's letter and subsequent video that just came out of him getting arrested.
Well, that could make it more interesting in terms of what the media covers.
Right. I mean, we'll get more to that, but the media is definitely going to focus on that instead of focusing on Martellus Bennett going up against our linebackers and our plan to take care of a tight end. I mean, because that's where the matchup really is, right?
It's the matchup with all the weapons that Aaron Rodgers has. I mean, that's right. The difficult part of this game. When you have Jordy Nelson on the outside, when you have Randall Cobb in the slot, you got Martellus Bennett, and then the Packers are going to try and match up Devontae Adams with Sherman, because that's what they've done in the past, right? To kind of not even look Sherman's way and Devontae Adams, because the focus is going to be on getting the ball to Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, and mix it in with a little Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely right about them taking Devontae Adams and just saying, all right, we just surrender the
whole right side of the field. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that ain't happening. And then watch Aaron Rodgers try to go to work against Jeremy Lane and Shaquille Griffin and maybe Coleman or Nico. I don't know who they plan to put out there in the slot. I'm guessing they're going to start Jeremy Lane on the outside, is what it sounds like to me.
I think that's the plan, is to start Jeremy Lane on the outside. Then when you have 3 receivers, you bring in Shaq Griffin, And to me, that would be the matchup that the Packers would look to exploit, right? As soon as keep your 3 receivers on the field all day and just pick at throwing short passes underneath Shaq Griffin, and that would be the way to kind of dink and dunk down the field on the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, considering that their running back is still a receiver,
right?
Ty Montgomery, I don't see the Packers really committing to a run game in this contest. I mean, this is going to be Aaron Rodgers, quick 3-step drops and just trying to hit slant after slant after slant out of the slot.
Sure.
That's really where I
maybe
see
some screens mixed in there to Montgomery, right?
Right, and that's going to be unbelievably maddening. But one way that we can really help out these corners, because let's face it, they're going to need a little help on the road against Aaron Rodgers and company with everybody healthy. Week 1. Whatever semblance of a run game that Green Bay hopes to get going, that has to be snuffed out early.
Right.
None of that getting gashed early crap. And hopefully Sheldon Richardson and crew up front are able to go ahead and shut that down. I think they will. I don't think the Packers are going to run a lick. But
especially when you have their 2 guards. They're kind of the weakness of their offensive line, right? Lane Taylor as their left guard, Jari Evans with his age getting up there at right guard. Everybody else
still can play football. That Jari Evans, it turns out.
It turns out he can still play football. How about that? But
crazy.
The 2 tackles for the Packers are very solid. Their center they have a good center in the middle of their line. It's those 2 guards that I would be interested in seeing the Seahawks really going after, attacking Aaron Rodgers up the middle. Now, Rodgers is a guy, though, that once he gets out of the pocket, he's pretty dangerous.
Just when he gets out of the pocket?
He's always dangerous. That's why he's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to get after him. So I think the big difference in this game, if you're going to see a Seahawks victory, is we need to get pressure with our front 4.
Right.
It has to happen. It absolutely has to happen. We didn't see much of it through the preseason, but that NASCAR package that they bring in with all your quick twitch pass rushers, whether that's Frank Clark or what Pete Carroll calls him.
It's death row. You got to have the death row package.
Yeah, and you don't call Frank Clark anymore. Apparently, you're like Pete Carroll. You call him Frankie Outside. So doesn't that sound like some sort of Jersey dude? Hey,
Frankie outside.
Yeah.
Hey, go get it done. I got a job for you.
Get out there, Frankie Outside. So, whether it's Frankie Outside, Bennett, Averill, Sheldon Richardson up the middle, they're going to have to create that pass rush. And maybe you'll see a little bit of blitzing, getting Bobby Wagner in there quite a bit. We saw more of that last year. But we've all seen the only way that you can beat somebody like Brady or Rodgers is to get some pressure on him right quick. Really, that's what it boils down to me, because I really feel like the Packers defense has some things that are exploitable, and we'll both get to that here in just a minute. This is going to be a relative shootout, and then you have to decide, okay, so which defense is going to be able to slow down the opposing offense a little bit more? And I think the Seahawks defense is clearly a better unit and has the advantage there.
It does, especially when it comes to corners. And that's where I would say probably the weakness of the team would be the side of the field where you're putting Shaq Griffin and Jeremy Lane. And that would be the one place to attack. But the thing is, with the Packers side of the defense, they don't have either both their corners.
All their corners.
They barely have starting corners that they can put out there on the field. And I don't even know, is rookie the rookie from UW, Kevin King, are we going to see much of him out there on the field either? I haven't heard much about him this preseason.
On the depth chart.
Yeah.
I think he's third on the depth chart. And that's the thing. They've got either a lot of young guys or guys that can't play or haven't played well over the last few years. Jared and I got into this a lot over this last trip. He's like, the Packers defense is much improved at corner. I was like, how do you figure?
Right.
And he's like, well, I mean, they were taking safeties off the street and playing them at corner. And I was like, yeah, but are we sure they got better just bringing in crappy corners?
And that was the one strange thing that we didn't see last season. Well, we saw Russell Wilson throw a lot of interceptions against the Packers. So it just didn't seem like they attacked the corners as well as they could have last season in that game. And maybe that's because they make up for it on the back end with Morgan Burnett and Clinton Dix, 2 solid players on the back end of their secondary.
They definitely have some very solid players at safety, but it's the matchup on the outside. This is gonna be the Doug Baldwin show. in this game. And honestly, it could be the Jimmy Graham show too, because their linebackers are nothing to write home about either. I know you list Clay Matthews as a linebacker, but he plays more in that pass rush position more times than not.
Well, you got Nick Perry too to worry about in terms of pass rush, and so
their pass rush their defensive line is real.
It could be a challenge for our tackles in this game.
It could be a challenge for the entire offensive line. So
that's every week.
This is a pretty good defensive front. I mean, Mike Daniels never gets talked about as a nose tackle.
Mike Daniels against Luke Jokel, if they line him up on that side, that'll be a matchup to watch.
It's going to be a real challenge for them in that sense. But one of the things that we've all hoped for is the resurgence of the running game, right? One of the ways that you can help take the pressure off your own corners is to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. If we can get the running game going just a little bit, but I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to start out throwing the football, open it up, and then start gashing them with the run. I think coming out of the gate, we saw Russell Wilson on fire throughout the preseason. You're going to see a lot of those quick 3-step drops and him just hitting guys in rhythm. I think that Russell Wilson is really going to tear these guys up. He's been on fire all preseason. I can't wait to watch him do it here. He's got a very soft target anywhere he looks out there on the field.
Yeah, we need Russell Wilson to be dialed in against the Packers because we've seen in the past when he's not. It's not always all his fault, but he did have his toughest game against the Packers last season. He had a tough game against the Packers in the NFC Championship before they went on to win that game. We need Russell to be dialed in.
Yeah, and I think he will. He's looked so sharp.
He has
going through this year.
Who's going to be our starting running back?
Well, it's going to be Thomas Rawls. I mean, Eddie Lacy was listed as number 2 on the depth chart. Like we called it. Like I don't know how long ago.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Eddie Lacy got signed, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So a matter of him being able to play this week, it sounds like he will. I definitely would see Thomas Rawls. Sounds like CJ Procise is definitely available for this game.
He was supposedly available to play for the Raiders, but they didn't want to chance it. So
I think that just the idea of the short passing game is really where Seattle needs to focus going into this matchup. They just don't have anybody on the outside that can hold up with Doug Baldwin and company. It's going to be an impossible task for them. And that's how you keep Russell Wilson upright, is just get it out of his hands really quickly so you're not worrying about that defensive front for the Packers and Clay Matthews. I think that's the way they have to go. I think this game will be a relative shootout. But again, I feel like our defense is just a stronger unit and we'll be able to hold Aaron Rodgers to just a little bit less. And we come away with a victory week 1.
A victory week 1. Let's get it started early. The Packers can sometimes start out slow. So let's get on them early, grind out a couple of touchdowns early on, get the ball into Thomas Rawls' hands, Eddie Lacy's hands, and keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. That
would help a lot. I think the other thing too is, I know you'd mentioned to me on the phone a little earlier the idea that get up on them early and then do all that. That ain't happening. You're not going to get up on them early in Lambeau Field home opener with all that energy. What you need to do is not fall behind more than 14 points.
Sure. Yeah.
If you can keep it under that through the first quarter and then start to crank it up, you gotta ride that first quarter energy wave that is going to be coming from the Packers. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Week 1 at any opponent's stadium is tough.
Yeah, that or a playoff game, right?
Right.
I mean, the team comes out with that emotional burst, and you just got to weather that storm. And so weather that storm, get through that first quarter. It might look a little ugly, but from that point forward, I really feel like we'll be able to enforce our will with the short passing game. And if we can crank up the pass rush, good luck, Aaron Rodgers.
And hold the Packers to field goals.
And score more points than them.
Score more points than the Packers, and you will win. Our key to the game, key number 1, score more points than the Packers. Should we come up with any
more generic keys, like don't turn the ball over, and what else?
Well, the last one would be score more points, right? The first one would be don't turn the ball over.
Right.
Second one, control the clock. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Third one, score more points.
Right. All I know is I'm friggin' excited, man. I can't wait to watch it. I'm going
to have those pregame butterflies. I know as soon as I wake up Sunday morning. Yep. We're gonna have to watch. We're gonna have to sit and watch through the morning games to get to the afternoon.
Are they a late game?
It's a late game this week, which normally isn't the way it works with the Packers. So they're
no.
I know.
I would totally had it in my mind. It was going to be an early game.
No, you're wrong. Your mind is wrong.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
All right, Adam. Well, I think that takes care of our Packers matchup. What do you say we get on and give away a free year of NFL Game Pass to one of our members of the flock?
I'm excited about this. So anybody who signed up as a member of the flock or people that contacted and said they wanted to be a part of this drawing, right?
The email went out to all of our members of the flock through gettingtheflock.com, and we had almost 70 people throw their name into the hat. I know there are a couple people that kept their name out knowing that, well, either they already had Game Pass or I know some of our overseas listeners were a little bit bummed because this is a US only code. It doesn't work in the Game Pass stores for the overseas Game Pass. So a few
no
people
Game Pass for you.
Yeah, no Game Pass for you. But yes, let's give that away. But first, let's talk a little.
Oh, what a tease. What a tease. You're the worst.
Let's talk a little pristine auction, Adam.
Okay. All right. Pristine auction.
PRISTINE. Great place to go to get your auction items.
Look at you're already so confused by your own tease that you're having a hard time talking a little bit about pristine. But look, one of the other things that we're going to give away throughout the year is a lot of different Seahawks pieces of gear and memorabilia and all that. We get a ton of it off of pristine auction because it's usually a pretty dang good price. There's all sorts of different types of things. I mean, basically pick your poison. What is it that you're into? Are you into kickers? You'll find something that is related to Seahawks kickers. I promise you. Do you like wide receivers that had no speed but could catch everything? There's large into everything on there. You can find anything for your particular fandom when it comes to the Seahawks on pristine auction.
Looking at what's up there right now, a lot of Largent gear. There's some Eddie Lacy gear. Eddie Lacy Seahawks mini helmet, a good price on that. Right now at $36.75. I say it every week. I want an autographed, full-size, authentic helmet.
Yes.
Especially one of those throwbacks.
I know. It's going to come to you, Brandon. You just keep watching them auctions. Just check in with Pristine, every other day or so, and you're going to find the one that speaks to you. I promise you.
So check it out, Seahawkerspodcast.com/auction.
All right, are you done keeping everybody in suspense now? Are we announcing a winner?
I just thought we'd keep the drum roll going under that entire promo. And then announce.
It's going to be a tired drummer. Yeah.
We did this before the show. I pulled up all the numbers. We had 67 entries. I had Adam pick a number at random. Yes. Adam, you went with Sean Alexander, number 37.
Yes.
Which means the winner is Lisa Carlson.
All right. Congratulations, Lisa. That's pretty cool. I hope that she doesn't have Game Pass and she's going to be able to use this. I mean, she's one of our great members of the flock. Always great talking to her.
Contributor in the Ring of Honor week to week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. I hope Lisa enjoys that.
Enjoy that, Lisa. I will send that to you via email so you can get started and watching your that way. This is going to give Lisa an edge in the Pick'em League now because that she's going to be probably breaking down the all 22 for each of the teams going in each week. To see who she's going to pick in the Pick'em League. Absolutely.
That's an unfair leg up she just got there to win even more prizes.
Right. Well, Adam, we talked about the Jermaine Kearse a lot being emotional for us, and so we want to do a little bit of a tribute. I picked up 5 of the top plays from Jermaine Kearse's career, because there were so many big plays throughout his career, and I was even surprised going back and looking at these plays that his very first touchdown with the team was a big play.
Wilson out of the shotgun. Play fake to him. Wilson half roll right. Looks. Fires down the far sideline. Got a man. It's Kearse. Kearse makes a catch. Touchdown Seahawks. Down the right sideline. Between 2 defenders. It's a Husky. And baby does he make a catch in the end zone. Jermaine Kearse. From 43 out, the Seahawks go on top.
43 yards out between 2 defenders. I think we're probably going to hear something similar to that with one of his other catches. But that was the first game of the 2013 season in Carolina. Jermaine Kearse scored the go-ahead touchdown, and the Seahawks won that game 12-7.
Yeah, I remember that clearly because we had done diddly poo on offense before that. Right. So that was like the one highlight of the entire game, and it was Jermaine, and it was a Husky.
A Husky.
it was a Husky.
And then we look back to Super Bowl 49 with a huge grab that unfortunately we don't need to talk about what happened afterward, but we do need
nothing
to
happened
recognize.
afterward.
No,
none of that happened.
None of that happened.
No,
but this was one of the greatest Super Bowl catches ever.
Seattle right back to the line of scrimmage. 118 and counting. Russell empty backfield with slot to the far side, slot to the near side. 4-man rush this time. Russell's going to lay it up over the top this time. Kearse reaching up. Ball slapped. He caught it. It fell into his arms. Holy catfish. It was tipped up in the air and Kearse on his back at the 5-yard line. Are you kidding me? He makes the catch.
All these guys do is get criticized, but they just come out with the biggest plays at the biggest times.
And that's what Jermaine Kearse did, come up with the biggest plays at the biggest times.
And got criticized.
And he got criticized.
Yeah,
Warren Moon summed it all up right there.
He really did. There's not much more we have to say in this little tribute. I think Warren Moon just tied it all together nicely with a bow.
And then one of my favorite touchdowns of all time was the Russell Wilson to Jermaine Kearse touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Broncos.
Slots to both sides, empty backfield, and Wilson goes out of the shotgun. Here comes a 4-man rush by Denver. Wilson fires inside, and Kearse makes the catch, spins out of 1, spins out of 2, 10, 5, touchdown, Seahawks! They are blowing the roof off this place in New Jersey. Jermaine Kearse, a 23-yard slant, breaks 2 tackles and takes it in. The Seahawks stretch it out 35-0.
And that's when the party was full force.
Full force at that point.
Oh, man. Because it was beautiful. It was one of those, that's one of those that looks good in slow motion on replay. And they showed it like 4 or 5 times, and I could just point at Jared and laugh. It was fantastic. It was really cool, man. And he looked like a beast on that, you know?
I think he could have had 2 or 3 more guys try and tackle him. He was getting into the end zone in that play.
Absolutely. You knew it was happening.
And then we go back to the game that preceded the Super Bowl, the 2013 NFC Championship game against the 49ers. A big play on 4th down, and they get the go-ahead touchdown.
So if he tries to get them to jump and they jump off sides, it'll be a 5-yard mark-off, and that would be 5 yards closer to the field goal. But a 4th and 7 from the 35. Russell has a trips to his far side with Lynch in the backfield. Russell out of the shotgun, stands at the 40-yard line. Somebody steps into the neutral zone. He's got a free on play. The snap and a free play. Throws it for the end zone. Deep down to the back of the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? What a catch. Jermaine Kearse on a free play throw to the end zone. Offside by the Niners is declined, and the Seahawks score. What a call by Pete Carroll. Oh my goodness. The touchdown from 35 yards out for the Seahawks.
Another one of those catches between 2 defenders, and Kearse comes up with the ball.
That actually gave me chills again down my spine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, having the cojones to go for it on 4th down in that moment and everything, and then, recognizing that you did have the free play and going for it all. But even still, Darrell Bevell gets no love in the call because apparently it was Pete Carroll's call, not Darrell Bevell's call. Just no love. Can't win.
No, we can't give credit to Darrell Bevell. We can only criticize.
Right. Yeah, I forgot.
And then probably the most spectacular play of his career, especially considering the game that he had leading up to the final catch to win the game against the Packers in the NFC Championship. Jermaine Kearse had passes go off his hands. Russell Wilson did 4 interceptions on the day, a lot of that throwing to Kearse's direction. And then when it came down to overtime against the Packers in the NFC Championship, here's the final play of the game.
Lynch in the backfield in a pistol formation. Wide receivers to either side. Russell takes the snap. Drops back. He's going to throw down the middle. He's got a man. The ball is caught.
Game over,
it is a touchdown. The game is over. The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl in Glendale. What a catch in the end zone. It is Kearse. 35 yards. A long day for Jermaine. And he makes the game-winning reception in the end zone. They are going nuts at CenturyLink.
Gives me chills every time I see that one.
Yeah, and I mean, really, that game just sums up the entire career of Jermaine Kearse, right? I mean, he had the struggles most of the game. You know, people probably would have, wanted him right off the team right there and all that. And then when it came down to the biggest moment of the game, makes a great catch and sends the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. That is Jermaine Kearse in a nutshell when it comes to his career with the Seattle Seahawks. We'll miss the guy, man. I enjoyed his play and all that. I don't see how you don't make that trade if you're John Schneider.
Yeah.
It had to be done. I'm sorry he has to be at the Jets, but thanks a lot for everything that you brought to the team, Jermaine. And who knows, we could see you back down the line. We never know.
Fitting, though. The one active player still on this team that we've had on the show.
Right.
And now he's gone.
Yeah, we might have to stop trying to get active players on.
It hasn't worked out
interviews.
Well. For
hasn't
them.
worked out well. No, we doom careers.
I mean, you even with the guys that you high five on the team.
Yeah, I'm not high fiving nobody no more.
No, they're no longer with the team either. Every player that you've touched.
Yeah. I can't do it anymore. Yeah, it's like what's that movie with John Goodman in
Arachnophobia?
No, and Denzel Washington, and it was the evil spirit, and whoever you touched, it just went from body to body. Yeah. It's that sort of curse that I put on players just by touching them with a high five. So
stop it.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done now. I know now.
Now you know. All right. Well, after the break, we're going to get into welcoming some members of the flock. We got some email. I have a little clickbait that I think needs to be played, and of course, do better and better at life. If you haven't heard already, the Seahawkers are the official booster club of the Seattle Seahawks, and coming up this week, the Skagit Seahawkers in Mount Vernon Elks are holding a 2017 opening day rally. They're going to have food. They're going to have raffles. That's going to be September 10th from 12 to 4 p.m. That's in Mount Vernon, Washington at the Elks Lodge there. Go to Seahawkers.org to check out the different chapters in your area. And if you're in the area, Mount Vernon, opening day rally.
Very cool. Actually, I like Mount Vernon a lot. I've been through there a few times, worked at a few mills there. What a beautiful area. For all of you that live there, I get it. Although you are in prime tsunami zones. So just be aware. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying, but in terms of tsunamis, that's I don't think we've had one in a little while.
Right, because the tsunamis that occur in that area are ones that don't happen very often, but when they do, it's a bad day. It's a real bad day.
Well, we're in the area for where Yellowstone could explode. So,
right.
I mean, there's nowhere, you're safe nowhere.
That's a hundreds of thousands of years cycle, where this is more like a 1,500 year cycle.
Whereas we're on the single year cycles for fires right now. So if you haven't heard in the news, and you probably haven't, the entire state of Montana is on fire. So
yeah, we're going to talk about this.
I'm going to switch it up and kick on our usual email music here, Adam, because we have some guest emails that require their own special music.
Yes.
I think we're going to be talking about breakfast. We're also going to be cleansing some hakra. And I had one of our members of the flock. She had collaborated with us to come up with a good hakra cleansing to start the season.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm ready.
Well, let's start off with welcoming some of our members of the flock. Thanks to Aaron Dutton, our donor from last week, a one-time donation of $12. Aaron, welcome to the flock.
Yes, welcome.
And Aaron says, I woke up this morning and my first thought was if there was a new Seahawkers podcast. I listen to many podcasts, but yours is the one I anticipate the most. Thank you for your hard work, keeping the off-season shows going. The regular season can't come soon enough. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man. I keep hoping to find somebody that the first thing that they think of when they wake up in the morning is they want to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it would be another dude though. I was hoping for something a little different.
Yeah, well, you'll just have to steadily work the progression like Justin Britt.
Right. Oh, okay. That's it. So finding that person, it's going to be a Brit progression kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And we got 13 new members of the flock at getintheflock.com.
Whoa, wait a second. What'd you say?
I think 13, if my count is correct.
Dang. All right.
So big list to run down. Welcome to the flock to our new $5 pledges. Kevin Dietrich, welcome to the flock. Welcome to the flock to Jay Heiler, a familiar name there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the flock to Clayton Bell, who I recognize him as a previous one-time donor. So welcome to the flock to Clayton. Also joining us in the Pick'em League now. And if you haven't heard already, each week we're going to be doing bonus shows. We're going to be talking a little bit of Seahawks, maybe talk like this week. We're going to be talking about which beers don't pair well with food, or which foods don't pair well with beer. However the order works.
It's going to be a short conversation. I know that.
Yeah. We do have a couple of interesting submissions, though.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I look forward to getting to that and the bonus shows. But all these folks, they'll get to listen to this combo, right?
All these folks will get to listen. Plus, they're going to be able to play in the Pick'em League. I found out from one of our members of the flock that maybe the emails weren't go through. So if you've already heard from me, don't be surprised if you get another email just before we get started, because I want to make sure that you get your invite into our patron-only Pick'em League for our members of the flock. And let's run down this list. So, welcome to the flock to Barry Marshall. Welcome to the flock to Josh Shoemaker. And a welcome to the flock to Nick Turner. Nick sent along a note, says, as a newcomer to the podcast, given the fact that I can finally call myself a flocker, I would like to know the origin of the Better at Life Than Skip Bayless section of the podcast. Thanks for the great work. This is my favorite podcast every week. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man. We often forget that people haven't been listening like the whole time. I always feel like this is just an ongoing conversation that we have every week.
Right.
And so I forget that people don't know where things come from. But this was your baby, Brandan.
This was a thing because we started the podcast before the 2013 Super Bowl season. And this came from when Richard Sherman went on First Take. And at that time, First Take was Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. And Richard Sherman went on that show, it seemingly with a vendetta to take down Skip Bayless. And
he was a little angry.
A little bit angry. And one of the quotes that came out of that conversation was when he told Skip that in my 24 years of life, I'm better at life than you. And so that spawned the segment Better at Life Than Skip Bayless, where each week we like to focus on someone who's just a good story in the NFL or even in the world that we want to tell.
Absolutely. It's been great. It's our longest running segment, and I enjoy it. I love that it has that kind of history to it. But good question. I think one of these days, Brandan, what we'll have to do is put together just a little file where we explain a few of the running things. I know somebody had asked about the catfish sounder a while back, and just all those little things. And that way, for people who are new to the show and because it sucks being confused on the inside joke.
Right.
They can just go to that, listen to 5 minutes, and be like, oh, okay, I'm caught up.
Right. Well, that's not a bad idea. Like an intro to the show.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we add inside stuff each week too, so you just have to make sure you tune in.
Yeah, that's the best way to stay up on all of the Seahawks podcast inside jokes, because it's important.
It's important. Welcome to the flock to Michael C. Says, finally in the flock. Now let's get to 300. I'd love to hear them post-game shows. Good luck to everyone in the Pick'em League. Thanks, Michael.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
Welcome to the flock to Joanna Coolboss. She says, hey guys, after listening to your podcast for about a year now, I finally decided it was time to get in the flock. I don't know if it was the fact there was a limited time anonymous donor match or the fact that our rad Lieutenant Governor Cyrus Habib is a member of the flock.
That's right.
Yes. Or the recent repeated use of the phrase little flockers that finally convinced me to join. Regardless, I love seeing this podcast show up in my feed each week. You guys deserve some cheddar for all the work you put into this. Go Hawks.
See, Brandan, I know as opposed to you were at the beginning to this, but these little flockers know what they're talking about.
It might end up growing on me.
It's fun. It's fun.
Welcome to the flock to Pam Hendrickson. Welcome to Bobby Bruss. Also, welcome to the flock to David McLean. And a welcome to the flock to Jeremy Hansuvada. Says, hello, boys. I've been listening to your show since episode 49.
Holy smokes.
I like it because you are giving us the fans' perspective, and I appreciate listening to two friends share their enjoyment of something together. The reason I'm supporting you on Patreon is because I'm a teacher, so I love it when people make goals, and I'd like to support you in reaching yours. Plus, the gift is matched, right? Thank you for bringing happiness to my life, except when you spend time getting upset about clickbait. We're Seahawks fans. We're supposed to be more intelligent, and even more intelligent than even engaging with that. Keep getting them checks. Jeremy says, P.S. I appreciate that you two white boys from Montana, that you're open-minded about the Kaepernick and national anthem situation, especially considered Brandan was in the military. Well done. Slow clap.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, we're a couple middle-aged white dudes in Montana, and we're definitely a couple of the guys that are like, let them do what they want to do, right? Well, I mean, that's kind of
When you look at the reasons why they're doing it, right? They want the world to be a better place.
They want the country to be a better place. I mean, that's what this is about, right?
Right.
I mean, it's in. Look, if you're confused as to why Mike Bennett is sitting down at these national anthems, why don't you read the letter that he penned today regarding experience he just had in Las Vegas during the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight?
Yeah, sounds like that there was a gunshot that went off, and he was running away from where the gunshot was, and apparently ended up on the ground with a gun pointed at his head, according to the reports. And yeah, that's
according to his story,
right?
And
they're apparently he's hired a lawyer who's trying to get the body cam footage of the Las Vegas police that were there responding to the situation to see exactly what happened.
Correct. I did see a TMZ video come out while we were on break here in the middle of the podcast. Does show Michael Bennett on the ground, does showing him being handcuffed. It is not clear that it doesn't appear to be a gun put to the back of his head at that point, but it shows a very brief part of the interaction. Mm-hmm. I find Michael Bennett to be a very truthful individual. I haven't seen him say anything false to this point.
Because that's what you would expect the naysayers to go. Awfully convenient that he's speaking out against this, and now he's making these claims, right?
Yeah, and then it happened to him, right? Like, yeah, that's the low hanging fruit if you're going to try to pick apart something. But truth of the matter is, I can tell you straight up after watching the video, he was definitely put face down on the pavement and roughed up a little bit, and handcuffs put on him. So that's why he's sitting. Yeah, what's more disrespectful to the people that put their lives and died for this country than arresting somebody for no damn reason?
Yeah, I have to say, a lot of my thoughts on this really changed too. Even last year when we had Nate Boyer on the show, listening to some of the discussions that he had personally with Colin Kaepernick. So, and then even listening to some of your thoughts on this too, Adam. So, yeah, like you said, when you're trying to make our country a better place, it's really hard to criticize.
That's why he's sitting. I mean, it's right there in black and white now. You can tell why.
You know what, though, Jeremy? We're going to this clickbait thing that you're kind of chiding us on a little bit. We have to continue to get upset about clickbait because it's just the nature of our two former journalism majors. This is us being authentic and getting upset about clickbait. We can't help but who we are.
Right. And who's gonna bring this into the national consciousness? Like, this is like sitting for the national anthem. This is where we make a stand.
This is our cause.
This is it. It might be far more petty, but this is where we make our stand.
Well, it starts sitting at your computer screen. Just a pop-up, but it's something you've never seen. Seahawks fans are pissed at the latest bombshell that came in. You'll be shocked to see how Russell Wilson fits in. Now you're reaching for the mouse, and you feel your veins pulse. Watch your fingers do click. You've been clickbaited. Clickbaited. Yeah, you're clickbaited. Clickbaited.
I saw an article this past week, and I had to click. It was Matt Stafford to keep the diaper industry in business.
What?
How do you not click on that?
I don't have a high interest level in the diaper industry,
but you want to know why Matt Stafford's keeping it in business, especially after he just agreed to be like the highest paid player in the NFL, 5-year extension, $135 million. And so, the question always comes from the reporters, what do you plan to spend? What's your one-time purchase on yourself that you're going to make? And Stafford responded with a bunch of diapers because he gave birth to twins in the spring.
He did?
He did.
That's a medical miracle.
I think it was his wife, actually.
Okay, I hope so.
it says here it was his wife that gave birth to the twins.
Oh, good. Him. Good to know. Good to know. Let's just give credit where credit is due, Brandan. Okay.
And the pictures.
Was he throwing touchdowns while he was giving birth? Did he do that too?
I wouldn't put it past Matt Stafford, because he can throw touchdowns anytime.
Well,
that's why he's quarterbacking. He's quarterback in my fantasy team this year.
About the same rate he can throw boneheaded picks, too.
You've been clickbaited! Clickbaited! Yeah, you clickbaited!
But yes, that was my clickbait of the week. That's one that got me.
It happens. I did not get sucked into any clickbait this week just because I didn't have much time being on the road to really get into everything. Yeah. So a week that I skated through, and I'm unscathed.
Well done.
I'm unscathed.
Well, a final welcome to the flock to Cameron Rentoul. Cameron will be getting bonus shows and stickers coming up in the mail. Nice. Welcome to the flock, Cameron.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the flock. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the bonus shows. We're going to make the pick show the bonus show every week, and that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll throw in Seahawks stuff there too, because now we don't have to worry about being biased toward any particular team. We can solidify knowing that our bias is with the Seahawks in the pick shows each week and act accordingly.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe we could get Jared to call in with his 5 picks of the week or something.
Yeah, we could try and do that.
Just quick,
when I met with Mike down at San Francisco Airport, he did say that he might miss Jared a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. That's just it. Like when he moved away, I was like, well, that'll be fine. And every now and then I'm like, I don't have anybody to play Frisbee with.
Right.
Like, yeah, it'd be cool if he was here. But that's like once every 3 months or so.
Sure.
At best.
Miss him a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of missing things, I missed John's note from last week, and I'm going to read it now because I know, as a Marine, he knows 100 different ways to kill someone with an entrenching tool.
Yeah, don't screw that up.
Don't screw with that.
Do not piss him off.
No. Says, hey, guys, I finally got off my fiscal butt, and after a year of listening, executed due diligence. I am stationed in Northern Virginia and work at the Pentagon where, believe it or not, the realm of the 12 reaches deep into. Every 12er I run into, I will attempt to bring into the fold and make them flockers. In just over a year, I will retire with 31 years in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Holy smokes.
And will be headed back to the realm proper. Hope to see you all soon. From John, a.k.a. Master Guns.
All right, Master Guns. I appreciate that. I like that we have an inside flocker at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe could procure more.
Oh, yeah, right. You're trying to recruit people deep inside of the 5-sided building.
Yeah, I like this little flocker cell that we're starting to to make in the Pentagon. This is great.
This is great. So, yes, no need to bring out your e-tool on me, Master Guns. I got you.
Please. Okay. Well, that does bring me to a point. It's something that we've kind of gotten to the point now to where the amount of email and notes and all that we get, like, we always would just read everything all the time because, I mean, we really wanted to. This is as much your guys' show as it is ours. It's getting to the point where it's getting hard to just physically remember everybody's that comes in. Like, we'll do our best. If we do happen to miss somebody, man, we're sorry. It's not what we're trying. We're not, picking or choosing which emails are better or worse or anything like that. It's just getting harder to make sure that we include everybody.
We are going to do our best. And if I catch something like that, especially with one of our members of the flock, I want to make sure that we get to it. So getintheflock.com. Last chance. If you want to get in our Pick'em League exclusive to members of the flock, we're going to have weekly prizes. I'm going to send out the email on that to make sure you get in the Pick'em League. And we had a couple people mention the matching donation. I talked to our anonymous donor. I mentioned that we had 29 new members at the $3 level and higher. And our anonymous donor said, no, that's not good enough. We're going to keep this going through September.
All right, man. Well, that's cool. Maybe we will get to that. We could eat that 300 mark as far as 300 members of the flock to start the post-game shows. That is something that is absolutely realistic by the end of September.
I think so. So,
yeah.
And one more thing to close out our Welcome to the Flocks. At the first of the month, we want to shout out to all our monthly contributors of $12 or more. So thanks to DCH in Sparks, Nevada, Ross in Eureka, California, Ron in San Francisco, Ella in Woodway, Texas, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, David in Camas, Washington, Summer in Vancouver, Washington, Sven in Teltow, Deutschland, James in Linwood, Hector in Seattle, Keegan in Colorado Springs, Ro in Federal Way, and congrats to Ro, a.k.a. Romeganot, on on her performance at PAX West this week. I know she went deep into the tournament there at PAX West.
Really?
Yeah. Also, thanks to Jameson in Murray, Utah, Gary in Chappaqua, New York, Young in Anchorage, Keith in Covington, Washington, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, John in New York City, Tim in Austin, Texas, Kathy in Eureka, California, Garrett in Northern Ontario, Kevin in Keene, Texas, Paul in Milton, Florida, Mark in Curepe, Western Australia, and Crystal in Oldsmere, Florida. And Crystal, I'm thinking of you, especially with this next hurricane coming. She posted in our Ring of Honor about how she was concerned over her fantasy team because with the Miami and Tampa Bay Bucks game being delayed, adjusting her fantasy lineup accordingly. So you know where Crystal's priorities are with this incoming hurricane.
Absolutely. Anybody in the path of this next hurricane, like, hey, leave.
If you can.
Just go over the state line. Just go inland a little ways, and you're fine. Like, just don't screw around with this stuff.
I will say the one hurricane I did miss when I was in Virginia, I want to say it was Irene.
Yes, that sounds about right.
We had vacationed down to Florida, and the ship that I was on at the time, because I took leave, went down to Florida, they called me up and said, oh, hey, you need to come back because we're getting the ship underway.
Right, because you sail out for a hurricane, right?
You do,
like you go out there because the swells aren't as bad or whatever. I don't know.
You ride it out. You don't want to because you don't want to crash into the pier.
Right. That seems like a bad idea. The waves are bigger at the pier, right?
Right. Well, and there's things to run into.
Yeah.
So you take a ship out during the hurricane. Well, I responded by saying, well, I am on leave, and why would I bring my wife back into the area of the hurricane when we can just both stay down here? And I'm not one of the guys that's out there, getting the ship. Like, I'm not essential to getting the ship underway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That wasn't in your job description.
Right.
Like the boat was going to sail just fine without you.
Sail just fine without me. So they said, yeah, that's fine. You stay there and we'll get underway without you. And it worked out for me. We ended up, we didn't have a whole lot of money for the last day of our vacation there, but we ended up, we played mini golf at every single mini golf course that we could find in Florida.
Nice.
On our extra day. It was a pretty fun day.
Heck yeah, man. That's a great way to go about that. Now, see, there's some real smart bureaucratic thinking work right there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to need you to come back into a hurricane. Like, can you do that, please?
At least they didn't make me do it. They could have. They could have said, no, you need to be back.
At least they listened to some facts, logic, and reason.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's get in a couple of reviews before we get to email.
Right on.
First one here, our first review from Austria, Adam.
Wow, really?
Yes. Austrian Seahawks in the iTunes store says, fantastic. Brandan and Adam are doing an amazing job by providing us with all the latest news about our beloved Seahawks. Thanks to the both of them this offseason. It wasn't that boring anymore. Keep up the good work, and as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks. I appreciate that. Austria.
Not Australia.
Wow. Austria. That I would have never had guessed in a million years when we started this show we'd have anybody in Austria that enjoyed the show. That is crazy. That is mind-blowing.
Another one here. This one's from the U.S. Spencer Cahalan says, great pod for all 12s. I've been listening to this podcast for 2 years now and felt the need to leave a glowing review. I've never left a podcast review before, but they earned my first. The guys cover everything you need to know for the season and keep me from going crazy during the torturous offseason. I want to end with a question/theory. Carroll/Schneider's history of blockbuster trades have always included either a guarantee of more than 1 year, like Jimmy Graham, or an extension of multiple years, like Percy Harvin. I feel like they wouldn't have traded for Sheldon Richardson without the guarantee of an extension in the very near future. What are your thoughts? Best, Spencer.
Now, as far as the idea that obviously there hasn't been a deal restructured yet when it comes to Sheldon Richardson, but there may be a wink, wink, nod, nod kind of a deal. I mean, between the agent and John Schneider. I mean, they had talks, with Richardson to be like, hey, man, if we do bring in here, what do you think about re-upping long term? And he must have given them a positive idea. Yeah, but I don't think it's guaranteed. No,
I don't think it is either. If we did, it could be one of those situations where toward the end of the season, you see something happen. The team could be a little bit more tentative about giving a long-term extension type deal after the Percy Harvin experience, because as we talked about before, Sheldon Richardson not totally squeaky clean in terms of his off the field situation before now. So there could be a little bit of tentativeness from the Seahawks in that regard.
That's a good point. And you've seen the Seahawks extend guys at that point in their contract towards later in the season, maybe like week 12 or something like that, week 13. And that's a great way to go about it. That way you're able to kind of, take the car for a test spin, so to speak.
But it does give you room to negotiate leading all the way up to that free agency period now.
Correct.
And that's generally where you can see, because once guys like Sheldon Richardson hit the open market,
see you later.
And this is, if they want to keep him, they can franchise tag him too.
Yeah.
Now at this point. And
absolutely.
And if he happens to leave, you're probably getting a third round compensatory pick. So giving up a second round pick, knowing that you're going to get a third round pick a year after he leaves, at worst, right?
Speaking of things that are the worst, actually, know what? I'm going to save this for my do better. My do better was going to be for United Airlines because they screwed me and Jared over on our return flight. It was unbelievable. They suck.
Really?
Like, I'll just say, yeah. And I let them know, too, that I was going to tell tens of thousands of people that they suck because, like, they're awful. But I've got a different do better.
Okay.
That's, a little less personal. But, man, this still stinks.
While you have that negative energy harnessed, I just have to say I've sensed a lot of negative energy over the past week and even the weeks throughout the preseason. And that's why I think it's important that this week we do a little bit of a chakra cleansing for our listeners.
Ooh. Is there anybody in particular, or we just need to get all the little flockers cleansed?
I think as a fan base, we must cleanse our flock going into week one. And because there's been some finger pointing among fans, some finger pointing at the team for decisions that they've made.
Okay.
For other decisions they've made, like coming up with an alternative logo, and decisions like getting rid of Karen.
Right.
But none of that matters now.
Well,
now it's time for week one of the regular season, and Angela Koski-Earl, Adam, and I are collaborating to bring you your chakra cleansing before week one of the season.
Just hearing this music, Brandon, I feel much more centered and much more sage.
Yes. So now, time to light a candle beside your Russell Wilson doll. Take a sip of the Fantberry Kool-Aid. Invoke the image of the play that shall not be named to counter the negative energy it's held over us since that time.
Accept it.
And now gently shift your mind to envision a fully healthy and non-injured Russell Wilson taking his time to throw the ball because his O-line is giving him such amazing protection. Think about the addition of Sheldon Richardson to the defensive line and a fully healthy Legion of Boom. Send positive thoughts to Tyler Lockett's healed leg so we can see him returning punts and kicks and catching touchdowns. As you go through your chakras, if you feel any blockages, just chant, Om Namo Bam Bam, Jimmy Graham. Om Namo, we are going to the Super Bowl. Om Namo, success in the red zone.
And so saith the 12s. Your chakra is now cleansed. Let go of all the negative emotions for your fellow 12s, and let us come together for the culmination of what will be an amazing championship season.
And thanks to Angela for helping pull that together as well. I think it's just something that we need going into the season.
I agree. It's been too long. Man, I feel I could do some yoga right now, probably. And I've never done yoga before in my life. So yeah.
I feel a lot more relaxed.
I do too.
We got a couple emails from our members of the flock. We are going to address those in our bonus show this week. But we did get one email here from Joel from Prosser. It says, hey guys, I've got to do better for you too. I love the show and mostly 98% of the time agree with you guys. But I have to disagree with your thinking about Matthew Stafford not being up there with Wilson. Wilson is completely underrated by the media, and Luck is completely overrated. But Stafford has been carrying the Lions for his whole healthy career, including 3 trips to the playoffs with little or no running game, a crap O-line, and a mediocre defense over that span. You don't have to badmouth Stafford just to build up your own guy. Love the show, Joel.
All right, Joel, you're right. I don't have to badmouth Matthew Stafford, but I will because he is who he is. He's fine. He's fine. Like, I mean, he's a franchise level quarterback.
He's Phillip Rivers to me.
Yeah. Okay. He's in that conversation. Sure.
Dan Fouts.
Sure.
Dan Marino. A potential Hall of Fame guy, but just never seem to get it done.
A potential Hall of Fame guy. Not even close. Dan Marino. That's a stretch.
Once he gets to the end of his career, we'll see.
No. I mean, he just does.
But look at Dan Marino. They never had the weapons around Dan Marino to make anything happen in the playoffs.
At least Dan Marino went to a Super Bowl.
His rookie year?
He still went. It's a true fact.
Yeah, but that was when the Dolphins had Don Shula and not the Lions with their multitude of coaches.
Whatever, man. Matt Stafford is definitely, to me, Matt Stafford is more in the realm. I would put Phillip Rivers above him. Matt Stafford is actually more in the realm of the Joe Flacco's of the world.
Yeah, Matt Stafford can throw. He can sling the ball, though.
Oh, and Joe Flacco can't?
I'd put Flacco below Stafford.
Flacco, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. Those are all the same dude to me.
The difference about Flacco and him is his clutchness in the playoffs. And once he gets there...
Flacco had one great clutch postseason.
Yeah, his contract year.
Exactly. And now he's always clutch. And now he's always clutch in the playoffs.
He's had some good clutch postseasons, too, where they've gotten to the championship game and not been able to pull through. But
he's just like Matthew Stafford is Like, that's it.
I think we can agree, though, that Russell Wilson's better.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, without question.
Like I said before, Matt Stafford, quarterback of my fantasy team this year.
Yeah, well, that's a whiff on you.
Yeah, he's going to be a great fantasy quarterback as long as I don't know if we get negative points for interceptions.
See, that's how you know fantasy is bunk, is when you're thinking, yeah, Matt Stafford will be great at that.
He throws for a ton of yards.
Yeah, hooray.
All right, Adam. I know it's time for the season to start because we have an email from Michael in San Diego.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you know what that music means.
It's time for some breakfast.
Time for some real football and breakfast, says Michael. As the offseason ends and the preseason battle for roster spots is over, I can't say how excited I am for another season of Seahawks football. Like all of you, my girlfriend and I have been stuck in a rut that is the offseason. Our Sundays, or occasional Monday or Thursday, seemed empty without the weekly game. We were confused at times about how to spend our days. It started with the free agency period. Did a new chef need to be brought in for a tryout? Was there any top-tier talent available out there ready to take over? Fortunately, the organization decided there was still plenty of cap space, and nobody felt there was a need to make a change at this juncture. Nobody was brought in for an official or unofficial team visit, so the nucleus of the team is going to remain unchanged. Next up was the draft. Teams often try to make a splash in the draft. It's a chance to pick up new, younger talent, a chance to fill the void on the team, or even just to alter team chemistry. Again, discussions were held, and fortunately, the consensus opinion was that the younger talent is not always better talent. Chemistry on the team is amazing, and breakfast, as well as other meals of the day, are as amazing now as they were when we shared our first meal together. So no draft day deals with other teams were ever presented. OTAs and minicamp came along in spring, but we barely batted an eye at those because physical contact is prohibited. We were comfortable with our off-season workouts and didn't see a need to participate in these non-contact voluntary activities. But then came training camp. New plays are developed, new schemes practiced, a time to try new things. We thought maybe we needed to change things up a bit from last season, so preparations were made. Breakfast for dinner? Sure. Brunch? You betcha. Eggs over easy, sunny side up, or dare I say Benedict instead of scrambled. You don't know if you like it or if it'll work until you try, so try we did. We were in training, and we were up to the challenge. Since no new personnel were brought in during the offseason, we knew chemistry would be great. But did the season require something new? Research was performed. The internet was utilized. Did you know that there is a plethora of websites out there that show a seemingly infinite number of ways that one can have breakfast? I was amazed, sometimes shocked, even disgusted at times, how different people prepare and enjoy breakfast. After much research was performed, we decided the current recipe book was in pretty solid shape, and we didn't need much change for breakfast. We may have waffles one day instead of eggs, or we may put some hot sauce on the eggs to change it up. But at least for us, breakfast will still be breakfast. And finally, after all the training, the research, the 2-a-days, okay, maybe that only lasted one day because I'm not a teenager anymore. The season is upon us. The lucky shirts are ready. We are ready. We just hope the team is ready too. Thanks for the shows during the off season. Looking forward to a season's worth of recap shows on our quest for the Super Bowl. Go Hawks, from Michael.
Go Hawks, Michael. And appreciate you and the girlfriend putting in the effort to make sure that you have your breakfast routine on lockdown going into the season for all of us. And I appreciate the work that they put in.
Yeah. And for those new to the show and may not be used to Michael's routine, but Michael and his girlfriend traditionally have breakfast the day before every Seahawks game in hopes of ensuring a win. So we appreciate Michael keeping the breakfast tradition alive.
You know, and I appreciate the idea that they were trying some different stuff there with breakfast. Like, I'm a fan of like adding a garnish to breakfast. You know, dress it up a little bit, and that can be fun on occasion. You know,
sure, yeah,
it's nice.
What do you say we get on to some do better and better at life?
Yeah, please God, let's do that.
My do better this week is for the officials, the officiating in this Raiders Seahawks preseason game.
Was it bad?
There was one particular play, and yes, I know it's just a preseason game. So as fans, we probably weren't as upset about it as we generally would be. But when you're going in to the first week of the season, you hope the officials have things down to a T at that point, right?
Right.
And there was one moment where the Seahawks, they had one of the Raiders players, you know, kind of clutched up. He hadn't gone to the ground yet. And as he's going to the ground, the Seahawks strip away the football just before he hits the ground. And 3 Seahawks players jump on top of the ball. So it looks like a Seahawks recovery. The only question is, did the player have his knee down on the play? They go to the review. And here's my other do better.
Multiple do betters in the do better.
Multiple do betters within the do better.
You're fired up, man. I like this. Okay.
The tablet at midfield has done nothing to speed up the game, Adam.
What, the Microsoft Surface presented by Microsoft hasn't made the play review go a little faster because of all the Microsoft things that they do?
This is completely like a native ad for Microsoft Surface as they bring the tablet out to the field, because by the time the screen for the official even turns on, we know what the outcome is going to be. And why does it take so long for the screen to turn on? What is wrong with these Microsoft Surface tablets that the guy has to come out at midfield? Is there some announcement that I'm missing?
They must be powered all the way off rather than just like in like screensaver mode or something.
Right,
you know,
you have to boot it all the way up.
You gotta wait for it to boot up. Yeah.
The only thing missing is this officiating brought to you by Microsoft Surface. Like, they could fill in an entire commercial waiting for the tablet to boot up. But that aside, we go to the actual review of the play. And clearly, the guy's knees aren't down because he falls on top of another Seahawks linebacker. The only thing that you could maybe say is that the forward progress stopped, but that's not what this call is, because had they actually called the forward progress stopped, then that's not a reviewable play. So they were reviewing whether or not the Seahawks got the ball. Well, 3 Seahawks fall on the ball, and the officials say that they couldn't see a clear recovery of the football. Do you need to know exactly which player it was to determine the recovery? I have an idea. Fast forward past the point to where the Seahawks are getting up off the ground and handing the ball to the official. Just because during that clip you can't see who recovered it, then fast forward, see who hands it to the official. It's easy for the officials to do something like this in preseason. Do better. And start up those Surface tablets faster. We got to get this has to be faster.
Yeah, man, that can't work. I don't understand the idea that the recovery is not clear. I mean, it's the recovery just has to be clear. Like one team came up with it, correct? Like not the specific like number, 52.
I don't know how you could argue that a Raiders player even had the opportunity to recover that fumble.
Sounds a lot like the officials are in midseason form. This is going to be great. I can't wait to criticize them about their Microsoft Surface use throughout the season. But yeah, it does feel like a shameless plug in there as well. I think you hit on all the right things.
That's exactly what it is. This is just a Microsoft Surface mid-game commercial. But you got to do it. It has to be faster.
It has to be faster.
Isn't that part of the promotion?
I don't understand how replay takes as long as it does altogether. Because by the time the guy even has the Surface in his hand,
we know.
Like we all at home. We already know. I'm in Montana, and I can tell you what the call is. That's the part of it that it will forever be infuriating until they get it worked out. I don't know.
Yes, bring it out to the midfield, have it queued up for the official to see. Say, here's the answer, and let's move on with the game.
There's got to be some little Microsoft intern that can do that, right? Like, have it queued up, turned on, ready to go, just to take out.
That's why they have a whole team, right?
And isn't the officials in New York now doing all the reviews anyways?
Right. The officials don't even have the final call anymore.
Right. So what does the on-field official have to look at the Surface in the first place for?
Just tell them what the call is.
Yeah.
Were you right or wrong?
Exactly.
And if there's an on-field decision, if you need the official to have some input, then you have your Surface commercial.
Yes.
Oh, well. Who you got for Do Better this week?
All right, Brandon. My Do Better this week is for the Seattle Seahawks.
What?
That's right. I am taking the Seattle Seahawks to task in my Do Better this week because they clearly need to hire some different people in their graphics design department, man. Because they unveiled the new alternative logo today, which I'm not even sure what it'll forever be used for, but man, that looks stupid. It looks stupid. It looks like, so for those of you who haven't seen it, like if you were to imagine the regular Seahawks logo, if you were able to turn that like 3D like, right? If you were able to turn
it in the mirror, maybe.
Right.
On either side of the
if
mirror,
you were to turn and look at the Hawk straight in the face, like, eye to eye, like that's supposedly what this is supposed to look like.
It looks kind of like Blitz.
No, it doesn't. It looks like a bird it looks like the face of a bird that just flew into a window. That's what it looks like. It just looks like this flattened, squared face of a bird. It doesn't even looks more like an ostrich than it does a hawk. Like I saw somebody put up a picture of an ostrich face next to it, and that's like a dead ringer. Nothing about this works. I don't understand where it's going to be used. It's really oddly shaped. I think it's ugly as all get out. There's a million other things we could have done for an alternative logo that would have been super cool. This is freaking lame. Look, DCH and I will help you out anytime you guys want, and we'll come up with something better. But for the Seahawks graphics design department, do better.
Yeah, I have to say I don't feel as strongly as you do, but I did see it on a hat. It didn't look good on a hat.
No, it doesn't look good on anything. What do they even use the alternative logo for, by the way?
I don't know. That's up on their Twitter social media profile, so maybe it's just a Twitter image.
Who green lighted this? That's what I want to know. And is all the taste that they have just in their mouth?
I don't know.
Must
See,
be.
we've discovered this before. Logo creation can be hard, so I don't know if you should be so critical.
Logo creation can be hard, but I'm just a dude in Montana, right? Working with our good buddy DCH, like they have a whole team of people in freaking Seattle. That's like graphic design mecca. That's all people do there for jobs, is sit in coffee shop and design graphics and web pages. That's like the number one employer in the city. Don't look that up, but I'm sure it's true.
Somebody had to have looked at that and go, yeah, that it just looks a little off.
Yeah, it's got this like weird forehead. Like I don't
the way
don't
the
understand.
nose is, it makes it look kind of funky to me too.
Yeah, because the whole thing is funky.
Yeah. I
don't want to see that ever again. I hope that's used nowhere.
Okay. Well, maybe our Do Better will have some sway.
Oh, I'm sure it does. We're a huge influence on the Seahawks organization. We figured that out.
I think now we have to fast forward so I can cleanse your honker again.
No, I'm cool. I needed to get that out. That was part of the cleansing.
Okay.
Yeah. I just got that out before the season. Now we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on to Better at Life, and my Better at Life this week is for Texans defensive end J.J. Watt, Adam.
Okay.
This flood relief fund that he's been building, pretty incredible. The J.J. Watt Foundation, up to $26 million so far that J.J. Watt has raised. I'm going to nominate him to maybe take over the Homeland Secretary position, maybe just in time so we don't have to match up later this season. But
yeah, it sounds good. Yeah,
he clearly is doing well in the fundraising department because he started with a goal. $200,000, and every time he's had to increase the goal. This last time, rather than even go in $1 million chunks, he started going in $5 million chunks. Got a donation from HEB, which is, I think, a grocery store chain down in Texas, and now up at $27 million. Pretty incredible. JJ Watt, for all the work that you're doing for the people of Texas and for Houston. Better at life than Skip Bayless.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool because we all know the NFL owners aren't going to step up, and I'll tell you why. So basically, the largest donation by a team to any of these hurricane relief funds or anything like that has been $1 million. If you compare that to what the Houston Astros have donated, like I think they were somewhere in the $10 million range. The Houston Rockets like dwarf the NFL donation levels as well compared to what the owner with McNair for the Houston Texans. He just donated $1 million. That's the largest donation, at least up to a couple days ago, that any NFL team has made, and all the other leagues giving way more money. Man, the NFL owners are cheap.
Wow,
they're so cheap.
I'm not going to criticize for only donating $1 million.
Cheap.
But when you do compare it to, it should be pointed out that it is less than what some of the other leagues are given.
10 times less.
Yeah.
It's not like they got beat out. It's not like when Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain were going head to head back in the day and their contracts would come up and Wilt would get a big contract and Red Auerbach would come to Bill Russell and be like, all right, so what do you want? And he'd just look at him and he'd go, Chamberlain +1. And that's what his contract always was. He just get $1 extra.
Yeah.
The Wilt Chamberlain. That's not like how they're getting beat out here. They're getting beat out by, millions of dollars.
Well, maybe the goal, because I see at Seahawkers.org right now, they're doing the Seahawkers Unite Hurricane Harvey Disaster Relief Fund. Maybe people should go to Seahawkers.org and we can see if we can raise as much as or more than an NFL owner has given. If there's any NFL owners that out there that have, that we can beat, that'd be fun. A fun goal to try and achieve. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's in range. Let's do that.
All right. Seahawkers.org. It looks like the Tornado Alley Seahawkers are being the collection point for that, but you can donate right at Seahawkers.org. Who you got for Better at Life?
My Better at Life this week, Brandon, is for all of the wonderful firefighters that are here in Montana right now, doing what they can to try to keep these fires at bay. One of the things that is just amazing about it is, look, we are so dry here and have been in such extreme drought throughout this summer that there's really no hope in putting these out on our own. And the only thing that's really keeping mini Montana small towns and stuff from just being wiped off the map are these firefighters going out there and digging line in adverse conditions. I mean, I see these guys in the convenience stores and in restaurants and stuff as they come out from camp, for a day off. They're dirty head to toe. You can tell they're exhausted. The amount of effort that they put in just to try to protect us from this natural disaster is unbelievable. And I wanted to bring some attention to them because I find it unbelievable that when I travel, and I traveled a lot here just this last week, right? I was even in Houston. I flew through Houston, had large layovers, talked to a lot of people from all over the country, and not one person had any idea that this entire state is burning down. 40 out of our 56 counties are in a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And how much have you seen on the national news talking about the natural disaster that we're suffering through up here and all along the West Coast? How many stories have you seen, Brandon?
Not a lot.
Zero. Apparently, if you're not on the East Coast or out in one of the big cities, they don't give a damn. All right. Like, when are they going to roll out Sarah McLachlan for all of us up here? You know, I haven't seen the Red Cross mobilize here in Montana. I haven't seen, a player like J.J. Watt come out and raise a fund to help the people that have been devastated out here. There's a lot of people that have lost their homes, their livelihoods, livestock. I mean, just the natural resources alone, almost 1 million acres have burned up.
Yeah.
Just here in Montana alone. And these firefighters are the ones that are out there keeping it to at least a manageable amount until we get some rain. And, for their efforts and what they do every day, thank you so much, guys. And you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
I took a firefighting course, and part of that course had to dig fire line for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I was exhausted after 30 minutes. And these guys are out there all day.
Doing miles. Like the one perimeter that is a fire that I'm concerned about. It's close to some property. Right now they have something like 96 miles of fire line.
Wow.
And a lot of that was dug by hand. 96 miles.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking about fires in the amount of land that has been burned up, like entire states of like Rhode Island and Delaware.
Right.
Like that's the type of devastation we're talking about here. I can't see this morning. I walked outside. You can't see more than a half a mile.
You could
I've seen.
You could look directly at the sun, and all it looks like is just an orange or red disc.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can do it. Your eyes are fine.
Right.
Your retinas are. It's cool. It's unbelievable. I can't believe nobody's talking about it. But hey, up here in Montana, we're used to this sort of thing. Y'all, you get all the help that you need to. We'll just be up here and be like, this is fine. We got this. Because that's what we always have to do.
Well, we're all going through tough things right now. Houston going through tough things. Florida going through tough things. We're just we'll all get through this, and it might be until October. Could Florida? Is there a machine where we can just warp the hurricane from Florida just up here to Montana just to put the fires out?
Yeah,
that would be handy.
I accosted a few people down in Arkansas for hogging all the rain.
Hogging all the rain. We have not had rain all summer.
They're complaining about flooding, and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you?
We need that. We need that water.
Yeah. Send rain our way, people.
Send rain. Send a win. Get a win for us in Green Bay, Seattle.
That would make me feel a lot better. That'd make this entire region feel a lot better. I'm so fired up, dude. I've got the lucky hat out already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm debating which hoodie to wear.
Mm-hmm. You need to make these decisions ahead of time. Make sure your lucky gear is on your person by kickoff. It's important. Make sure and do it, because if you don't, you could be testing fate with the Seahawks. And with it being opening game, I know sometimes it's hard to remember. Make sure you have your lucky gear stashed away, ready to go for it, just in time for kickoff. It's probably a good thing that it's the second game, because you have that time to remember of all of your routine from previous years.
Yeah. So what I don't want to hear, I don't want to read emails about how this game was your fault if we lost. Like that you weren't on it and you didn't have your lucky gear together.
We want to hear, I did everything in my power. This is somebody else's fault.
All right, I did everything in my power, and it resulted in a win, like it should have.
Right. That's
what
I
want to hear.
Yeah, that's exactly what we should hear.
Yeah. So get on that. The other thing you guys need to do, get in the pick'em leagues, man. I'm super fired up for this. You do not have to be a Patreon member to sign up for our regular league.
Yes.
There are prizes at the end of the year for that.
Steve Largent, autographed jersey, Seahawkerspodcast.com/pick'em.
Absolutely. Get signed up with that through NFL.com. We'll have a bonus show coming out here later this week with all of our picks throughout the league. We're going to do that week to week as our bonus show. If you want to hear that, get in the flock. All it takes is $1 a month, and you can get that extra show a week. And if we get more members, we get that 300. You'll get 3 shows a week with a post-game wrap-up.
Okay, Adam. Well, since we're talking about the bonus show,
okay,
let's give our first pick, because I think bonus show this week will be coming out around Friday afternoon. So let's talk about the Thursday matchup. We'll give people a little bit of a preview of some of the things that we talk about in the Pick'em show. So let's talk about the Patriots versus the Kansas City Chiefs, kicking off the season Thursday night. Who you got in this game?
That's kind of a fun way to start out the season, right? Goodbye the schedule makers. That's a solid game. Usually the Thursday night games are stinkers, but this will be fun watching Genghis Tom take on Alex Smith and company. Is this in Kansas City or is this in Foxborough?
No, the Super Bowl winner always gets the game in their hometown. So, and in the past, last year it was kind of weird because wasn't it a Super Bowl rematch the first week of the season? I know after the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, we had the Packers in week 1, and that game went really well. But yes, the Super Bowl winner always gets to kick off the season in their hometown, and it was a really cool experience, I know, because the NFL comes in and does it's almost like a Super Bowl village type atmosphere that they have for the season kickoff. We had Soundgarden play at the opening week. Pharrell Williams also came and performed. So it's a fun way to kick off the NFL season.
Yeah. So with that said, I mean, we talked a little bit about home openers and how people are fired up and all that sort of thing. They're going to be super fired up for this there in New England. And now I know how many people have had New England written in as just undefeated going into this season. I mean, that's ridiculous because I do have some questions, Brandon. I don't know about you. Tom Patriot can't outrun Father Time forever. Father Time runs a fast 40.
Right.
He will catch you. He will catch you. Are we sure Tom Brady is still going to be Tom Brady this year at the age of 40? I'm not sure of that.
I watched
Brett Favre have a Pro Bowl type year, his second to last year with the Vikings, and then the next year he looked like he needed to go away. Throwing picks all over the place. It happens overnight. He could become the China doll any day now.
He could. I wouldn't expect it though. Week 1, right out of the gate, arrested Tom Brady after the entire offseason. It even took Peyton Manning a little ways into the season to start looking like Peyton Manning was not the same guy.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, it didn't look good early to me, but so that's number one right out of the gate. That's interesting to me is to see, if Tom Brady looks still like Tom Brady. Then it's the idea of, are they going to be able to bring in all of their new weapons, whether that's Dorsett that they just traded for out of Indy, Brandon Cooks, how they bring all of that together.
I'm not concerned about Tom Brady being able to hit anybody in terms of receivers.
I'm just interested to see how it all comes together right out of the gate. Sure. I mean, Gronkowski, this is going to be about as healthy as he can be. But that Kansas City defense, Brandon, I know you're a big KC homer. They actually
Homer.
are pretty
KC
honk.
How
about that?
I'm a KC honk. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Kansas City has a very talented defense and a talented defensive back crew. If anybody can match up and give them a little bit of fits, I think it could be this Kansas City Chief team, but I don't think it's going to be enough at the end of the day. I don't see Alex Smith being able to actually put together enough points to hang with Tom Brady. I think this is the Patriots probably by 10 to 17 points.
Yeah, to me, this is a no-brainer pick. The Patriots at home to start the season. What's the last time we've seen a Super Bowl winner end up losing their home opener to start the season? I can't think of a game. The home team always wins in this case. It's as much as of a KC honk I am. I don't see them going in to Gillette Stadium and getting the win. I'm going Patriots on this one too. Gross.
Yeah, it is gross. It makes I feel dirty. I feel dirty having to say that, but
I'm going to be rooting like crazy for the Chiefs to win this game, though.
Absolutely. I'm going to be rooting against my own pick. There's no doubt about that.
All right, Adam. Well, that gives people a little bit of a preview going ahead. And what do you say we wrap up this show with that?
There's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.